In 1978, the clinic went out of business due to the sudden disappearance of the director. 10 years later, a phone call to an investigator sets the story in motion. What happened to the director? The investigator goes to the abandoned clinic to track down the disappearances that took place in the past. So goes the blurb for Yonesawara Hospital, an indie horror made by a team of 3 devs, as far as I can tell, who previously made the game Masagoro, if you happen to have played that one. That game is set in a Japanese inn during the early Showa era, while Yonesawara Hospital, as the name suggests, is set in an abandoned hospital during the end of the Showa era. I haven't played that first one yet, but after playing this one, I do plan to. So if you've watched my other reviews before, you'd know that, in general, I'm not a big fan of games where you're constantly being chased by something. It's just not my cup of tea, although I do enjoy watching others play them. I'm the type of person who likes to take my time and really explore things, and having that constantly interrupted by a monster that wants to eat my intestines honestly just annoys me. I'm looking here. Go hassle someone else. Having said that, this is one of those games. As the blurb tells us, the director of the Yonesawara Hospital, Yonesawara Sousuke, mysteriously went missing in the late 1970s. He wasn't the first person to go missing from this small countryside clinic, however. A nurse had also gone missing the previous year, and after investigating the hospital, village, and nearby mountains, our main character wasn't able to dig anything up. Sousuke was a man in good standing with the community, and there were no signs of trouble anywhere. He seems to have just vanished into thin air. With nothing to go on, the case soon stalled, and with no director, the hospital closed too. It was then left abandoned for 10 years, and then one day, our main character gets a phone call. It's from the mother of a former patient at that hospital. Her son died at the hospital a few months before the director disappeared, and our investigator had actually interviewed her back in the day, thinking that maybe she had something to do with the director's disappearance, as a sort of revenge for her son's death. Of course, that wasn't the case, but at any rate, the mother has apparently just found a note written by her son while cleaning up his stuff. In it, the boy states that the director, Sousuke, is going to kill him. The thought that the director might be up to no good never crossed anyone's minds, and with this new information on hand, she wants our main character to head back to the hospital and check things out again. Maybe this time he can uncover what really happened, not just to her son, but also the missing director. At first, he doesn't want to go. The boy has been dead for over a decade. It's not like they can bring him back to life. But the villagers also speak of the hospital ruins making strange noises at night, and nobody will go near it because of how creepy it is. Intrigued, he lets his curiosity get the better of him and decides to check it out. And so begins the game. It's fairly straightforward from there, and if you've ever played any of these explore and get chased games before, then you should already know what to expect here. For roughly the first half of the game, you're actually left to your own devices and nothing in the game can harm you. You simply explore the hospital, uncover files, diaries, etc. that explain a little of what was happening at the hospital before Sousuke disappeared, and play Fetch Quest Simulator as you look for items that will complete very simple puzzles that will then allow you to move on to the next part of the hospital. There are a few jump scares here and there, some of which actually scared me, but they're nicely paced and mostly atmospheric. You're not bombarded with them constantly. Then, around the time you should have gotten fairly comfortable with the hospital's layout, and started getting just an inkling of the horrible stuff that was actually going on here, the game unleashes its, honestly, pretty scary monster on you. The game gives you numerous hints that this is coming, even if you go into it without knowing a single thing. You can find numerous cupboards and such that you can hide in, and notes around the hospital mention the director losing his family and uncovering a ritual that could, in his mind, maybe bring them back. And this ritual involves body parts. You can see where this is going. I thought the introduction of the monster was quite nice. It's certainly an interesting and terrifying design the first time you see it, and when you realise what the monster actually is, well, it's more than a little terrifying. In terms of game mechanics, well, it's not terribly difficult to deal with. As I said before, there are cupboards and such placed around the hospital that you can hide in, if you're able to reach them in time. Just wait inside until all the noises stop, and then you can head back out again. Although, ultimately, the easiest thing to do is just run from it. Only during chase encounters can you run, and it does have a very simple stamina mechanic, so you can't run endlessly. But I never once had a problem with the monster catching me because my cardio was crap. In general, you can pretty much just keep running and moving forward, and eventually you'll outrun the slow beast. This makes it slightly annoying when you have to find your way back to where you were, but if you don't know where the hiding spots are, it works just fine. And at the end of the day, the hospital itself isn't too big. I had most of it easily memorized by the time the monster shows up, and while you do open a few more sections after that, again, they're not hard to memorize. I'd say the only real inconvenient thing is that you can't access all areas of the first floor, for example, from the first floor. You will have to use the stairs to get around, and then go back down, often because of closed doors and such. If you're bad with directions, it could get annoying, especially with how similar everything looks and how terribly not useful the map is. But it's really not that big of a hospital, so it's not the end of the world. The monster seems to work in a very simple Mr. X capacity, in that it's always lurking somewhere in the hospital and you'll probably run into it at random while you're exploring. There seems to be a few scripted events where it will always show up, but other than that, it's random. The only times I ever really died to it though, was because I literally ran into it. And once you know it's there, just turn and run, and you'll mostly be fine. The game has 3 different endings. A regular bad ending, if you didn't read the files closely enough and misunderstand the ritual you have to carry out. The true ending, if you actually do the ritual properly. And a sort of joke ending, where you can nope out the moment you enter the hospital and make, as the game calls it, a wise decision to leave this creepy place unexplored and just go straight back home. Which is honestly kind of neat. It's not a long game either. It should take you around 2 to 3 hours, depending on how slowly you like to explore and how often you encounter the monster. Progression is also straightforward, as I mentioned earlier. It generally involves finding an item or two, usually keys, music records, or Japanese dolls, that you then place into the correct slot, and the next area unlocks. But you'll want to read all the files you find along the way to understand why the director went missing, what he was doing at the hospital, and most importantly, how to properly complete the ritual at the end so you can escape. There are also a few Easter eggs and kind of unrelated to the main quest storylines you can uncover as well. There's a Masagoro Easter egg from their previous game that you can get from collecting 4 issues of a weekly magazine around the hospital. And stories of several other patients are also waiting to be uncovered by exploring their rooms and diaries. And on that note, I will say that the English translation is rather dodgy, although it's mostly understandable. Sometimes the names themselves are even translated wrong, which might make matters a little confusing if you don't already know who is being talked about. But overall, you should be able to understand what's going on. It's not the worst translation I've seen, but be aware that it's a little iffy. And if you're not the type that enjoys chases, the game comes with a bonus exploration mode as well. You can choose the time of day if you want to actually see what the hospital looks like in daylight, and everything is unlocked, so you can walk around freely to your heart's content. You can't seem to pick up items or anything though, so if you want to experience the actual story, you need to play the game and get chased by the monster. But if you just want to walk around and honestly rather nice map they've created and take some pictures, they've given you the option to do so. Finally, I think the sound design in this game was amazing. The visuals are quite nice and the game looks suitably creepy, but the sound design really takes that up a notch. The constant creaking of the floorboards as you walk, as well as the hospital itself seemingly groaning and breathing around you, is great. And if you find yourself focused on that, listening hard for the monster and waiting for it to arrive, you might just get jump scared by a random lurking ghost instead. The game really nails the abandoned hospital atmosphere, and I found myself nervous a lot just because of the sounds. So, should you play this game? Do you like indie Japanese horror? Do you like creepy abandoned hospitals and rituals gone wrong? It's only a few hours of your time, so if that interests you, then yeah, you should probably check it out. And even if you're not a big fan of chases like me, well, it doesn't make up the majority of the game, and it's easily enough dealt with as well. I enjoyed it enough that I'll no doubt check out Masagoro soon, and I was excited to discover they also have an abandoned village game coming up, so I'll be checking that one out too. I'll be posting a full lore video on this game soon as well, so stay tuned for that. But what did you guys think of this one? Have you played it yourself? Let me know what you thought of it in the comments below. And I'll see you again next time.